your computer. And
Is there a speaker then that people will be able to hear and we can hear them then?
So, yeah, so if we can test it by taking one of the computers into it.
You have one, yeah.
Otherwise it echoes. If you just take your computer out there, we should be able to hear what we can hear.
Where is?
It's this weird movie bird.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, see.
So I should turn my speaker on.
Well, if we want to test the audio, we'll see what you guys can hear. We should take one of the two. Is yours muted?
Mine is muted, yes.
Yes.
Hello, how you doing?
Good.
Here for the JRB board meeting? Okay, come on in. Who are you with? Hey, how's it going, Lars? We're good. You wanna sit up there? Okay.
Who am I with?
Yeah, you're just here?
Hopefully.
Okay, cool. Have a seat.
Carl, can you hear us out here?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
The speakers on the TV are loud enough?
Yeah, they're good. We can
Okay,
hear
yeah,
you.
we can clearly hear you.
okay.
Not just mute yours a little bit. It gets really bad too.
Okay. Yeah, so Nathan's gonna be here in a second. It's a half hour.
Yeah.
Get you.
I'll be here. Yeah, you said probably. Oh.
I'm gonna be here.
Okay, that's quite on that.
Oh, okay.
Good now.
Okay. Okay. How loud do we have to talk to be picked up on there?
It was very clear.
Is it very clear?
You don't have to be super loud.
And Carl, you'll need to make me a host.
Yep.
I just sent you a request for.
Then you're gonna do this free share?
Yeah, I can bring it.
Yeah, and I have, the developers too, for their presentation.
Okay.
Cool, well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
It's nice, thanks for doing it.
I will be here, so if, need me, you can just bring global weight.
He has got like his different phone system. Well, we have to call you from the outside.
Oh, alright.
Just by yourself on the bird and office.
Hello, come on in.
Oh, here you are.
Hey, Meredith.
Hello.
Okay. We'll be there.
I'm gonna be here the whole morning.
Cool, thank you. How's it going? Carl. Hi, Carl, nice to meet you. There's a packet up there, so wherever you want to sit.
You're Jeff, right?
I am. How do you pronounce your last name? We were debating that earlier.
Let's hear what you want to say.
Whoa. Meredith was one.
Creeper, I'll save you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
I just have my stuff here. I'm gonna stand here with the computer and. Cause then we have to share and all that stuff. But yes, go ahead. No school today?
We have a professional development day.
Yeah, my daughter was off, so it was, maybe no school.
Yeah.
Come down River Hill, same thing.
Yep, all the partner districts, it was a partner PDA, so we bring all the districts together.
And my daughter had COVID last week, so she's been out of school now 6 straight days. So I got that email of, you've had a lot of D's and F's, because it's the start of the semester and she just missed a lot of.
My eighth grader at home also missed every single day last week.
Okay,
Feeling pain.
yeah. You're gonna have a lot of makeup work to do, Reese, so you better get on it. Oh, sorry. Is that everything?
Were people pursuing words?
Was overall, how do we? Okay. That's a public member, do we wait for wait for that or how long it's that? You meet like every week. Oh, okay. Yeah. Seems like you're meeting every week. It feels like it sometimes.
Present to you guys.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be.
Oh, I think.
Well, it was supposed to be in the last meeting, but I didn't post it. You guys know we do it next time, but I wasn't available next.
Okay.
Sorry.
You did.
Yeah. You're Nicolay, right?
Correct.
So do I call this into order?
Yeah, it's kind of unfair because it's sort of playing share.
Right, right. Okay. I knew this is when we had to elect a chair, I don't have it. And I thought I called it to order. Yep. The Board of Review we do every summer for the property taxes. It's actually called to order by the clerk. Yes. And then we elect a chair and then.
I was gonna join her.
I've seen it. Share reasons on
Yeah.
that.
So we'll share your presentation from here. Okay. I'm sure you got.
My clerk does not want to chair anything. She's more than happy to have someone appoint the mayor as the chair of the Board of Appeals. The Board of Review.
Oh. So you're having. Oh, she did? Oh, I have many of them, so. I think I should- Oh.
We kids have a school project because Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
We will be
I-
at the school on Wednesday.
That's it.
From Brazil for Christmas.
Yeah.
New Year's.
Yes.
And the next day. we go back and it's 1 year. Of course, the school was canceled.
Why do we think it was this cold? Why do we just see Brazil? I'm like, so what is this?
And 150 is a lot.
It was 165 degree swing.
Did everybody get sick? No.
It's just.
Okay.
Used to be negative 45.
So. You guys share, you do this every day, but after the show, we had 2 of them. We missed 4 days of school in January alone, and then we had snow days in February, March. Is when we went to device policy, and setting up to be able to run school remotely if they ever had to.
Yeah.
Well, the pandemic comes around, all of a sudden it's like Nicolay is one of the people
Sort of
that
ready
is
to roll.
totally prepared.
Yeah.
They sent the kids home on Monday or on Friday, and on Monday we were at school for a week, and then we went to spring break.
Yeah.
And so, but I've noticed that since then, it seems like whenever you do cancel for the day, you just cancel, when you could go remote, because everybody has to play.
So last year we went remote. I'm certified.
Okay.
we've been called last. But I think was the. Yeah, during last year. The night before, the next day. Yeah.
$15 degrees, there's such ice everywhere. This is the third time it's been for ice, because so structure can get out of the right. Especially if you don't think you're fine. This is the first time. This is the Texas. We are in this. Right, yeah. What school? Please go. The seventh. Close to the the most famous of the wells. Okay. Not all the first. It's the county. Okay.
No, it's in South Hadley, which is about 10 miles north of Springfield. It's part of a consortium with schools in Amherst and Northampton.
Sure, yeah. You're talking about ice. Worcester is very hilly, or as you kind of get into the western part of the
Those
state.
shall have you.
Yeah, so, yeah. These summers are slopes.
Did you ever live in Massachusetts?
I would grew up there till I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah, so in between and so.
I just don't.
A bunch of the schools, there's a lot of schools in Worcester. Fully crossed. I grew up in Framingham area, so. Like,
Very.
Boston.
Okay, so I had one daughter go to MIT,
Okay.
and now this one's at Mount Holyoke, so we've been doing the Massachusetts thing. 6 years.
Yeah, first one.
We are at 4 o'clock, do we have a? We have a quorum.
I don't know who's online, that's the question.
Oh, can you?
There's a lot of people online, they don't have specific names.
So we have Nicolay represented, but
It would either be Michelle Brown or.
Andy on.
Michelle Brown is on.
Michelle was gonna be
She just came on right now.
okay, so that's one, we've got both school districts. And then,
I just don't know the county representative. We have Chris Morgan, MC iPhone, Michelle Brown.
Yes,
Sure.
hello, this is Chris
Yeah.
Morgan.
Chris, who are you representing?
Milwaukee Area Technical College.
Okay. So we have MATC, we have both school districts, we have the city, we have the citizen member.
County would be.
Yeah, we're just missing the county person, right?
The county is the only rep we don't have. Chris Morgan from the ATC.
Right. Who is the county rep?
The rep listed on here is Celia Benton
Hmm.
or David Crowley.
Celia is normally.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I mean, we do have a quorum, so we will go ahead and, so the way this meeting works, I, as the mayor, will call to, the meeting to order. And then we'll have a roll call, and then there has to be a motion to appoint a chairperson. and a motion to appoint the public member. So I've named somebody from the city as the public member, but the taxing entities have to appoint the public member each time the Joint Review Board meets. So I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and I'll ask the roll.
So we have Chris Morgan from Milwaukee Area Technical College,
Present.
Michelle Brown from the Glendale River Hills School District,
Present.
we have Mayor Brian Kennedy,
Here,
we have Lars Ulrich from the JRB public member,
Present.
and we have Jeffrey Kruger from Big Lake Union High School District.
here. All right, so everyone is present except for did you say Celia Benton from Milwaukee County? And she's not.
He's not here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, can we get a motion to appoint a chairperson for the Joint Review?
So, well, we shouldn't have a motion from a public member.
Yeah, you can't come from the public, member. You get appointed.
Oh,
there.
that's right.
So would you go into appoint, make a motion to appoint me as the chair?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, motion from Nicolay High School to appoint the mayor as the chairperson. Is there a second? And it will have to be from somebody online.
Second, Chris Morgan.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, it's been a motion to appoint the mayor as the chairperson of the Joint Review Board for the city of Glendale. It's been properly seconded. There's no discussion. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of appointing the mayor as the chair, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So now as the chair, I will entertain a motion to appoint, Lars, how do you say your last name again? Volk. Lars Volk as the public member. He is a City of Glendale resident. He also serves on the City Police Commission. And he has served as a public member in the past on the Joint Review Board. Can I get a motion to appoint Lars as the public member?
I'll make a motion to appoint Lars as the citizen member.
Okay, moved by Mr. Proofer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor of appointing Lars Volk as the public member of the JRB, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right, so Lars has been appointed. Thank you. Now we will move on to review of the responsibilities of the Joint Review Board.
Turn over Mr. Taves.
I can cover that, Mayor.
Thank
I'm Taves with Elders for the city's consultant. So we met our statutory requirement for this afternoon by convening and by appointing the chair and the public member. We'll take the opportunity this afternoon to give you an overview of what the city is proposing with respect to this TID. You will be asked to set a subsequent meeting date to take place after the Common Council considers approval of this TID. And at that point, this body's responsibility is to determine whether or not to allow the city to create a TID. And there is a three-pronged test that you are to apply under the statute. We kind of broadly explain that as the but-for test. So that is one of the three prongs that but for the creation of this tax increment district, the development that you will hear about this afternoon would not otherwise be able to occur. Secondly, that the tax increment district is financially feasible, which simply means that the district would be expected to generate more tax increment, or at least as much tax increment as necessary to pay the intended project costs, and we'll demonstrate that as part of the presentation. And then lastly, that the economic benefits of the project, not only in terms of an increased tax base, but also the other tangibles and intangibles, provision of housing units, general growth within the community, increased income tax, sales tax, general economic activity, things of that nature are worth the investment that the taxing jurisdictions will make within the project. So that's the lens that you are to look at it. And unless there are questions on your responsibilities, that's all I have on this one there.
Okay, thank you. Next item then is review and discussion of a 2024 approved plan development, 2510 West Good Hope Road. And I will turn it over to City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. We're going to have just a quick, hopefully 5-10 minute presentation by the developer. Joey is here from Newland. He was going to take this opportunity to go through the project very briefly on what was approved by the Common Council several months ago. So it's on the screen here. I will put it in full screen if you want to.
This has already been through the approvals of the Community Development Authority and the Plan Commission and the Common Council. So everyone has signed off on the construction of the project itself. Now we're at the point of introducing whether or not this is included as part of tax increment finance.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name is Joey Wisniewski. I'm the Senior Development Coordinator for UN Enterprises based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. As Amir said, we are here today to discuss the tax increment district for what we're calling the Arden at 2510 West Good Hope Road. Just a little bit about us. We've been in development for over 30 years, focused mainly on developments in and around Milwaukee, our specialty being market rate and mixed use housing, commercial. We've done all types of different types of construction, from stick frame to post tension steel, light gauge steel, and of course mass timber. Part of the team ethos is to be long-term investors. It also makes us long-term community partners. We care about the communities that we're in because we are going to be a part of that community. We property manage ourselves, which makes us vertically integrated. So we're in it for the long haul, and that's why we feel this is a good fit for Glendale. Speaking to those points, we've won multiple awards for our property management team. We're in the top 1% in the region in terms of property management, from blind third-party scoring. So that's something we take a lot of pride in. We have over 2,200 apartments right now under our management, and over 2,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet of commercial space. We've also won 9 city RFPs, again, trying to be good community partners and providing the best value. And the history of those community partnerships go back from not only creating TIFs, but really it's been creating public spaces and ways to interact, create vibrancy, creating community as part of a holistic development approach. So the development that we're talking about today is 179 units along Good Hope Road. It's made up of a corridor building and several townhome buildings. What really brings us to Glendale and why we wanted to be here is because there's undersupply in the market right now for housing. Also, we want to be as thoughtful and as efficient in our design as possible. So really bringing the best of both worlds. We're bringing something that's transformational, but also something that's feasible. Here's an overview of the site. You can see the corridor building pushed up against Good Hope Road, to have the massing there. And then the other leg of the corridor building facing other multifamily, and it's a condo development to the north. And then as we move to the rest of the development, you have lower scale townhome units facing the single family units just around us. So the location of the site is on the intersection of Rangeline and Good Hope. It's adjacent to Brown Deer Park. It's also right by the Aurora Health Center. This is previously the site was used for greenhouse and orchard nursery commercial business. In the everyday use of that business, there was lots of pesticides, herbicides, other potential contaminants throughout the site, needing for much remediation. Before Newland had stepped in, there had been other developers that had tried to develop the site and just were unable to, based on the cost of remediation and trying to create something efficient and valuable here. So we've done a number of environmental testing. We've done our phase 1, our phase 2, obviously. We've also done site remediation plan, materials management plan, and both of those plans have been approved, reviewed and approved by the DNR. So the representative from Ellers mentioned, we do need to create the TID. We have to pass the but-for test, obviously, meaning that if not for the TID, the development would not move forward. And that's where the crossroads that we're at today. There is significant remediation costs needed for this site. The city has identified TIF as a solution for remediation, and this project would not move forward without it. So the environmental costs associated with remediation is about $7.8 million. It goes through what you can see there, all of the different tasks that need to be completed. This also includes any type of DNR reporting as we move forward. The TIF terms that are proposed is 27 years of the TIF, it'd be a 95 to 5% split. Something that makes this more palatable to the city is that it would be developer funded, so it actually removes the risk from the city. The city does not have to do any lending. And the actually net present value of the upfront proceeds is 6.3 million. So that's the money needed to do the remediation upfront. And just to, I don't know if you can see, okay, you can. If so, just to talk about the TIF monetization again, it'd be over the 27 years, but this is new land going out to a lender to create the financial portion needed upfront. And that also comes with a number of fees and a number of years of interest reserves that are required by a lender that would do the TIF. So the actual result is $6.3 million upfront in TIF proceeds. So we also want to talk about the other benefits. There's clear economic benefits to the city of Glendale outside of having the tax revenues. The full tax revenues that there's still increased tax revenue. The 5% split that the city would get is still significantly higher than what the current taxes are on the vacant land. There will be construction jobs created, obviously, but also permanent service jobs related to having new residents. And then there's also the new resident discretionary spending. So there's a certain amount of economic benefit from having these people live here is that they're going to spend most of their discretionary spending income in the area, which will then increase sales tax for Glendale. Other benefits, obviously, we're taking a site that's blighted and putting something of value there. We're cleaning up an environmentally hazardous site. By having new land there, you have the top 1% of property management teams in the region there. It's near zero, like we said, near zero additional municipal services. We're plowing our own driveways. We're taking care of our own garbage. There's really not a much of added cost to the city by us being there. This is also going to support local business and hopefully create a few businesses as well. And like we mentioned, it's zero risk to the city in terms of new land taking on the risk of creating the funds up front. And it guarantees that the site in the future will remain a taxable desired use that also fits the city's current zoning code and the comprehensive plan. That's the end of kind of what I have. We have more slides if anyone wants to see more photos or anything else, but I'd be happy to answer any questions as well.
Are there any questions? You mentioned $7.8 million for remediation, but only $6.3 million of upfront cost. But I believe there was something in there about interest covering the difference. Can you just explain how that works? I just don't understand how you earn interest when you spend all of it.
So we need to get to 6.3 million. The financing costs and the loan and the fees associated with getting that is going to be taken up to 7.8. So it's the interest reserve. So whoever your lender is for a TIF, they will want you to hold the reserves for a couple of years ahead of time. So just to make sure that you have those. And then also just the loan origination fees. So that's what takes it to 7.8.
Did I answer your question? Any additional questions?
Is this for all questions or just on what you presented?
I mean, I guess at this point, what he's presented, because there'll be more about the financial considerations at that point. I'm sure there's about your other questions.
No, I was just wondering what types of families were expecting to draw into these apartments.
So the median income of Glendale is around $80,000 a year. It's the median household income. The rents associated with the Arden are on par with $80,000 a year in average median income. So rents will be from around the area average. So that means that it could be, what we're anticipating is younger professionals, maybe families that are just starting out, 1 to 2 small children, and then the move down renter, which are those kind of getting out of the single family market and then living, wanting to live in a community that's shuffling for them, doing all their landscaping, that's fitness center amenities, that's.
So it's a spread of 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms.
Yes, correct.
I believe the apartment building is only 1 and 2 bedrooms, correct? And the townhouses are all 3-bedroom townhouses?
And the apartment also has a 1, or excuse me, a 2-bedroom plus den option. And then the townhomes are 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. With a private entry, private garage.
Any questions from our folks joining us online about the presentation? All right. Not hearing anything, we will move on to a discussion now of the, I think the next item is the draft project plan. Probably turn that back over to you.
Yeah, Mr. Cage will handle this one, and will you be able to share your screens over the project plan?
I am. And I would mention that my colleague Frank Bowman is on this Zoom call as well. Frank particularly looked at the financial performance for this project and asked him to weigh in a moment, in particular on the FUD4 exercise that we went through to ensure that this district is indeed needed. So very quickly, I think probably most in the room are familiar with TIF. But the way TIF works is we take the property that is supposed to be within the boundaries, we freeze that value as of January 1st, 2025. Right now, that's about 240,000 roughly in value. The investment is made primarily in the form of this pay-as-you-go development incentive. We anticipate that that value will increase to roughly 44.3 million by the end of its life. At the point that the project costs are recovered, then the TIF closes and the city as well as the other taxing jurisdictions then receive the revenue based on that higher value. So the geography was already indicated, the map and the project plan, and there are 2. This is the parcel configuration as of the first of the year, 4 tax parcels, and then also a public right-of-way or cul-de-sac that was never constructed that the city has vacated. All of these areas within that purple and white hash boundary have been consolidated into a single tax parcel, and that represents the development site. The developer talked a little bit about the project, so I will not go into that. That is the purpose of the district, facilitate an apartment and townhome unit. This is a blighted area district, and what that requires is that at least 50% of the geography within the district meets statutory criteria for blight. In this particular case, the blighting conditions are related to the environmental remediation. So the property at one time was used as an orchard, subsequently used for a landscaping nursery type operation. So there is was pesticide use or on-site fuel tanks, so forth. So there's a variety of environmental contamination sources that are detailed in a number of its reports. Those were referenced on the developer slides as well. But we have roughly 7.8 million total in costs that are related to the earthwork and soils management, basically things that are mandated to be done in order for this site to be developed. So what that constitutes is really an extraordinary impediment to development on this site that you would not have on another site that was clean and developed. And so that again constitutes an impediment to development. In this case forms the basis for blight. And again, I got excerpted. I know it's very small print. So we've got the excerpt here of the Oxland cost estimate from November of last year, where we arrived at that $7.8 million figure. I'm going to turn it over to Frank to comment on the analysis that we looked through, and specifically to talk about why we have reached the conclusion as the city's independent advisor that we believe the assistance that is being proposed is necessary for the project to proceed in the fashion that it's proposed. And Frank, I'm hoping you're hearing us and can jump in and weigh in.
I've unmuted, I believe. I should be live.
We hear you, Frank.
Okay, good. Well, as Todd mentioned, we go through these project reviews to make sure that that satisfies the but-for test, which we've already delved into a bit. Essentially, would the assistance be required to attract investment capital, given the certain concerns that are involved in a project like this? Besides construction and the environmental issues that have been talked about, there's several layers of risk that go into a development project like this. It's acquisition of land, it's entitlement, it's financing, it's lease up, it's construction, it's all these different things that add to the risk profile of a project like this. And these are noted in the slide that's in front of you as far as the expected returns in the second bullet point there. The cash on cash is just basically the annual revenue divided by the equity investment of the developer. And the internal rate of return is more of a time value of money concept over time, discounted those cash flows back. And the ranges that we're talking about in here is, are shown on the slide as well. So the lender is going to, provide construction financing, but these terms have tightened up over the last number of years. Back in my day when I was a lender, that was 75 or 80% loan to cost. Now we're looking at about 65% loan to cost. And that makes the requirement for additional equity more important. But then equity is priced higher than the loan debt. So the reduction of the amount available through a commercial lender requires either higher carry costs on equity, or in this case, what the developer is looking to do is to take the expected proceeds from the pay-as-you-go TIF assistance, discount that back, and have a second mortgage up front, which helps them reduce their more excessive costs of the equity. So the chart in front of you shows the returns that we looked at for with TIF and without TIF. The cash on cash with TIF, this is about year 10, is kind of square in the middle of that range of 8 to 12%. The internal rate of return, and that assumes a sale of a project in year 10. So there would be a difference between the loan balance and the sales proceeds that the developer would receive. That we calculated at just over 13%, which is somewhat on the low to mid range of the expected returns that investors would require. Obviously, the column without TIF shows a significantly lower amount that would not make this project economically feasible to move forward. So covering the different risks that we have, the finance risk, the environmental risk, et cetera, we find that the support would be merited as it fits within not only the range to attract capital, but also to not unduly enrich the developers. That's the floor and the ceiling of what we would consider in our evaluation.
I'll jump back in, and certainly Frank will be available for questions as well. But moving then into some excerpts from the project plan. The plan calls for a total of $25.66 million in project costs. The bulk of that is the $24.5 million, which is essentially the 95% on a projected basis for the life of the district. We do have other minor costs. The one thing I would mention, a couple of things I would mention on the incentive. So when we say pay as you go, if anyone is not familiar with that term, what that simply means is that the development pays the property taxes, and under the proposed terms of what is included in the plan, 95% of that would be then paid back to the developers. So the city would not borrow any funds. There would be no upfront infusion of cash into this project. Rather, the developers leveraging that stream of increment. And so when we talk about the mitigation of risk to the city, that's how we achieve that, by not providing money up front, but by providing it over time and strictly limiting the payments to the tax increment generated by the projects. The other number I would mention is the $945,000, which is labeled just sort of generically as other city costs. So the city would retain 5% of the tax increment. There are some items that the city would have liked to have done within the general area in terms of sidewalks, pedestrian connectivity, and when and what those improvements may be will be dependent on the availability of cash flows. To think of that as a placeholder, but basically represents the city being able to spend that 5% for the benefit of the TID as cash comes in. We sort of touched on this already, but I'm going to break it down a little further because I know one thing. When you look at roughly 24.5 million in payments over time, now we're talking about 6.8 million. It seems like there's a large gap between those two numbers. So first and foremost, we need to think about what the value of 24.5 million is paid out over 27 years. You know, a dollar received 27 years from now has far less buying power than a dollar received today. So what we do is we take the forecasted increment, which is in future value dollars, and then we discount that back using an assumed percentage. For this type of an exercise, the assumed percentage is the developer's cost of capital, which is 7.5%. So in other words, that 24.5 million discounted, assuming a 7.5% interest rate, so 5.5% cost of capital is worth about 9.2 million in today's dollars. Now, when the lender allows a developer to leverage that future tax increment stream, they're going to be a little conservative as well, and they're going to want to break that down a little bit further, build a little bit of a hedge into that. So we take 90% of the 9.2 million, and now we're down to 8.3 million. Of the 8.3 million, there's a 2.5% loan fee. That's the 208,000 netted out. And then there's the interest reserve that was mentioned, which is essentially money that's set aside to make interest payments on the loan as those payments come due until the time that there's permanent financing put into place. So when we net out that interest reserve, the loan fee, we end up with effectively set 6.8 million in proceeds available towards the project's construction costs up front. In terms of the cash flow, again, we are projecting this to go out for 27 years. The city would retain roughly 5%. And what we show then is, again, the district running out for its entire 27-year life, covering its costs with a small residual in that final year. In terms of the timeline, this will go to the Community Development Authority next week. We have advanced through the CDA. We'll go to the Common Council on March 10th. And then we would be looking for this body to set another meeting. The week of March 24th would be the earliest opportunity to move on publication dates. And I will stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So I'm going to start with the first question, and that is the 7.5% interest that we're looking at now. When at some point in the future interest rates fall, if the developer chooses to refinance, are there clauses in here that then change the terms and conditions of the loan, or the pay-as-you-go TIP, if they're no longer paying that high?
So that'll be a development agreement item. The project plan does not bind or obligate the city to do anything in terms of the terms that will go into the agreement. So all of those things will be considerations that will need to run that.
To answer that question for you is, yeah, Joey and I have talked about that. That will be part of the agreement, and Trey Bear and I have been working on an agreement that will include those terms.
We had a TIF close in 2018. They closed 3 years ahead of schedule because they're getting refinancing done earlier on, and the TIF actually closed early, bringing I think $1.3 million in additional revenue into the city budget 3 years earlier than anticipated. Another question I have. Other questions from members of the ARB? Anybody online have questions?
I do have a question.
Anybody online have questions?
All right, Lars, go ahead.
For the other, city pops, I understand that that's intended to cover infrastructure projects, potentially like a sidewalk or something like that. Do we have any infrastructure that we expect to have initially, like traffic control? Something like that?
So we did, as part of our bike and pedestrian plan, envision sidewalks at some point on both sides of the road. So that it would be a future project. We also, if Good Hope School, which we suspect within the next few years, it may be developed as a another housing, multifamily housing. We probably want to create some form of crosswalk area. I don't know if this particular project requires a median cut. Does it?
No, it does not.
Okay. So there, we don't have to worry about any of that, and if we did, we'd probably have new land pay for the median cut, so. All right, yeah, so that answer your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, our bike and pedestrian plan does call for addition at some point. Bike and pedestrian lanes. Any other questions? Yeah.
And 95-5 split, how is that impactful to all the taxi?
I'm not sure I really understand.
The benefits of the 5%, right?
Yeah, well, to the city,
Only to this.
only to the city, correct.
That money would then be used to what improvements the city would make.
All right, so hearing no other questions then. Our next item on the agenda is to set our next meeting date. So we're looking at the week of the 24th of March. And Carl, I don't know if you had a specific date in mind. That happens to be the week we also have a city council meeting on
Yeah,
Monday.
it is for you. No, I got it. It's up to the JRB was, most convenient.
So would Monday at 4 o'clock? We're doing that now. Would that work again in 5 weeks?
Potentially that is spring break for us. But that's a bit of ours.
Which means it's also spring break for Glendale River Hills.
Correct.
And it could certainly be,
It is, but I could attend virtually.
If it's virtual, I figure something.
Okay.
I would also have to attend my virtual.
Okay. So it looks like in any other time that week, I'm hearing from at least several members that that's a great week. So if we want to finish up that week, we just plan to do a virtual meeting on Monday, the 24th at 4 o'clock. Was that Michelle or Anna that spoke a moment ago?
This is Michelle Brown.
Yeah, Michelle, with this, the 24th at 4 o'clock, if it were virtual, would that work for you?
Yes, that will work. Thank you.
All right, and we also have a representative from MATC. Is that also yours, Rick?
I don't believe so, but that time would work for me either way.
It does or does not?
It does.
It does, okay. All right, so we're looking at the 24th at 4 o'clock. We'll be back across the street across the parking lot at City Hall. Could I get a motion then to set the date of our next meeting for Monday, the 24th of March at 4 p.m. Could I get a motion to that effect from somebody?
I just say so.
You can just say so moved.
So moved.
All right, is there a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded. We've already discussed the time. All those in favor of setting our next date for Monday, March 24th at 4 p.m. at City Hall, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item now is the annual report, reviewing the 2023 annual report and performance of our two existing tax increment districts, number 7 and number 8.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I will quickly go through tip 7 and tip 8 from 2023. These are a little late because we're waiting for this meeting to occur. As you see, the beginning balance in tip 7 was about $1.5 million for about a $3 billion annual tax payment that the city makes to the technology district. That tip will fortunately expire in 2028. Will result in some significant funding for all of the taxing bodies here, so that is good news. So a couple more years, and that will expire. So that $3 million will generally be divided amongst the taxing bodies that are here. I wish TIF 8 would expire at the same date, but that's about a 2036 expiration. That is a lower TIF of about $1.5 million annually for Bayshore. The result of that is because the increment was much higher when the Bayshore TIF was created than the industrial one. Again, that expires in 2036. And it had a beginning balance of about $2.2 million for a $1.4 million. That's a pay-as-you-go TIF, just like the one we proposed for TIF 10. Any questions on any of the financials for TID 7 or 8?
Seeing none here, anybody online have any questions about the two existing tax incremental districts? All right, well, thank you all for being here today. Appreciate everyone's participation. We will meet again on the 24th of March at 4 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn the joint review board until that time? Moved by Mr. Pruitt, for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wolf. All those in favor of adjourning the joint review board, please say aye.
Aye.
No? We stand adjourned. See you all in 5 minutes.